Welcome to Bibliophiles Anonymous, episode 24. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jess.
And in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the book Beautiful Creatures by Garcia and Margaret Stohl. A lot of you have probably heard about it because there is a movie that is out. And eventually we're going to discuss the movie as well. But for today, we've both read the book. Actually, I shamed Jess into finishing the book.
She appealed to my competitive side.
Well, you had that thing for how long?
I know it. I started it sometime in, the end of January, maybe.
Yeah, and I understand you get in reading slumps. But then, I just, on Facebook, I was like, okay, I've got the book, and I'm going to challenge you that I will read it before you do. I will finish it before you do. And I had just started it, and you were, halfway through.
Yeah. And I think I did finish it, the next day after you said that.
Yeah, but, to give me some credit, I finished it, maybe half a day after you did, and you had a really big head start, so, I did pretty good.
Yeah, I really didn't have much left of it. It was just, motivating myself to sit down and read it. And it's not that it wasn't good. It was really good.
It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was just, couldn't do it. I just lost my motivation. What can I say?
It happens. But before we talk about that, let's talk about any other books we've been reading. Have there been any others that you've been reading that have caught your interest more than this?
Well, I actually started reading Rhapsody because that's our next book club book on the tavern.
Yes.
Which I have read before, but I've only read it once, and it's been a really long time. So I'm on chapter 4, I think. I don't know. The way the chapters are set up in that book is kind of weird.
Yes. That is true.
I don't remember exactly what chapter I'm on. And I don't think I put in Goodreads what page I was on when I actually stopped reading, so that won't help me.
Yeah,
I'm a little ways into it.
Yeah, I'm reading that one as well. I was still reading Abortion, but that one's kind of been put on hold because I was trying to finish Beautiful Creatures, and now I'm really trying to finish Rhapsody. But I need to finish Abortion at some point because it really needs to go back to the library. I've renewed it twice now.
Yeah. And
they might want it back.
Possibly.
Generally,
libraries do want their books back.
Oh, yeah, they're funny like that. And then I'm also still reading Blackout by Mira Grant, along with Mark Reeds. And that's the one where they read, one chapter at a time. And we just finished chapter 7, I think. Let me see. Yeah, chapter 7. And I'm already, counting down how many chapters I'm going to be able to stick with this until I just give up and finish the whole thing.
Well, you've done it with the other two.
I know, but I made it till almost the end, and there were only 2 or 3 chapters left. But this one, I'm not even, maybe a quarter of the way through, not even a quarter. And I'm already all right, I don't know if I can handle this. We need to just move on. She writes one suspenseful story, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
And many WTF moments. Let's just put it that way.
I'm not actually reading. I have went through all of the Belgariad and the Malorian. Well, not all of the Malorian, because I've got ebooks of them that I got years and years and years ago. Before ebooks were actually the thing, so they're actually just, Word documents.
Uh-huh.
And I've been going through and cleaning them up and fixing the formatting and converting them to an actual ebook format.
Right.
So I've kind of been browsing through all of those, but now I've made it to Sorceress of Darshava, and it was a really, 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 really horrible scan of the book. So I'm actually going to have to read this one and compare the text and fix everything.
Wow.
So technically, I guess you could say I'm also reading Sorceress of Darshava.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to anyway.
Yeah, because it's awful. It's like random characters stuck in the middle of words. And by random characters, I mean dots and things that aren't typically found on a keyboard.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really strange. So it's going to take a lot of work.
I wonder what happened to that thing.
Well, apparently, back 10, 12 years ago when I got these things, OCR technology wasn't that great. And when you would scan words like that, it would just do whatever it wanted to with them.
Huh.
It wasn't very good at actually translating it into actual words. So they ended up being quite messy.
Sounds like it.
So,
Well, then let's just move right into our beautiful creatures discussion. You were the one who first started reading it, and I had heard of it, but I don't think it was really high on my radar until you started talking about it. So what made you decide to read it?
well, I found it in Barnes and Noble one night and I thought the cover was pretty.
Ah, well, book covers can do that. We discussed that last week.
And I actually mentioned the cover of this one. It's just black, and it's got they're not really silver. They're just sort of a shimmery that look like trees. And then it just says beautiful creatures in purple, which I had actually seen it on Amazon, I think, and like read the preview or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then I found it and I bought it, and then it sat on my bookshelf for 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Wow.
And because I bought it at the same time I bought The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. I bought them the same day. And then I heard about the movie coming out, and I was like, I really need to read this because the movie's coming out.
Right.
And I want to know, how bad they screw it up.
You have such optimism. I love it.
Well,
Like you don't
sorry.
read to make a comparison. You don't read to do a good analysis. I want to see how bad they screw this up.
What can I say? I'm a glass half empty kind of person.
That and you just, learned from experience.
Well, there's that. Every book I have ever loved that has been turned into a movie almost everyone has been, butchered in the process.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up, I really, really, really liked the book. It was really good.
It was really
And
interesting.
I found it odd, most stuff in this sort of young adult fiction, fantasy type genre, for some reason, it's predominantly written by females and told from a female perspective.
Yes.
And this one was written by 2 females, but it's told from a male perspective.
Yeah, see, that was something that really surprised me. And it was something that was really refreshing. Because, like you said, it's always, the girl who's the, human or mortal or whatever you want to call him, who falls in love with some sort of supernatural male, whether he's a vampire or a wizard or, well, most of the time it's a vampire, but, there's a couple of others that they throw in there for variety. But yeah, usually it's that's been the norm. And this was kind of turning that on its head.
Yeah. And I really liked it because, it's interesting to see. I mean, and the book is about Lena. I mean, the whole thing is mostly about her, but, it's not told from her perspective.
No, not at all.
It's told from Ethan's.
Right.
And it's kind of an interesting take to actually have I don't really want to say main character, but like the focus of the story being someone other than the person telling the story.
Right.
It was different and it worked really well, actually.
Right. Well, let's back up just a little bit, and talk about who these people are. The person telling the story is, as you said, his name is Ethan, and he is a teenage boy living in Gatlin, South Carolina. And Gatlin is one of those towns that's this teeny tiny little southern, right in the middle of the Bible Belt kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and they don't really tolerate things that are different.
Yeah, like I said, I can identify with that because that's kind of like where I live is.
So they're the type of people who, they have the DAR, and they have the Civil War reenactments, only they're, pretty upset that the North actually won, and they kind of try to forget that fact.
They just kind of gloss over that fact.
Yeah, and especially they don't like anybody who breaks out of the kind of cookie cutter image of what they think their town should be. So along comes this girl who starts the high school, named Lena, and I could not figure out how to pronounce her last name. Is it Duchesne's?
Yes, because he says at one point in there that it rhymes with rain.
Okay, I was pronouncing it Duchesne's, but I didn't know if that was anywhere even remotely close.
Yeah, I think maybe the S is silent, but other than that, it's pretty close.
Okay, I guess we'll find out when the movie comes out.
Well, that's assuming they do it right, you know.
Well, I'm gonna guess that they would at least ask how to pronounce it.
Well, you remember when they did when what's his face Bakshi did his animated Lord of the Rings, they pronounced Celeborn wrong.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
And you know, half the time they called Saruman Aruman.
Oh God, yes. Okay, never mind. So, we'll just hope for the best with this. Okay. Anyway, so she's the new girl in town, and she's not like all of the other girls. All of the other girls are, oh, as he put it, they were all, trying to be as blonde and as tan as possible.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of trying to be just like every other girl in the school, and the ones that were falling short of that were the ones that weren't popular and didn't have all the friends, because, and this was kind of stereotypical almost to the point where I'm like, really? Okay, but she has the long black hair and the really, really pale skin. So first you're wondering, okay, well maybe that means she's going to be like a vampire or something, because that's just kind of the way these things sort of go. And not only is she new and she's kind of different and a little strange according to them. I thought she was kind of awesome myself, but
I did too.
But she's also the niece of the town recluse.
Yes,
Macon Ravenwood. And nobody's seen him in a really long time. And, people are afraid to even go up the driveway to his house because they kind of think that it might be haunted, and there's a whole bunch of crazy stories about him. So the fact that she's in any way remotely connected to him is just, one more strike against her.
Yeah, she he decides, he's like, Ethan is actually, he's one of the popular kids, kind of, he plays basketball, and he knows, he even tells himself when she first comes and he realizes that she's different and not like all these other girls, he knows, he tells himself, if I talk to her, if I hang out with her, they're basically going to blackball me.
Yeah.
They're going to ostracize me because she's different.
Well, the thing about Ethan, though, and this was something that I kind of liked, but at the same time it's like, oh, because does that really happen in the real world? I don't know. Is because even though he's one of the popular kids and he's in the in crowd because, his family is from there and they're, tied to the town like so many other families are, he doesn't really want to be that person. He's counting down the days until he can leave for college and get away from that. He doesn't like having to fit into this cookie cutter, but at the same time, he kind of accepts the fact that that's just the way things are here.
Yeah.
Which actually made me kind of sad for him, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things that I can kind of understand, being from a very small town where, everybody expects things to be a certain way, and you kind of just accept that that's how things are.
Yeah.
And that it's not going to change because, you're pretty much the only person that wants things to change.
Yeah, everybody else is fine with the way things are, and they think that that's the way it should be and that it shouldn't change, and they don't see anything wrong with the way that they're living. They're very narrow-minded.
Yeah. What got me, I sort of figured out kind of early that she was what she was, sort of. I mean, I didn't really know what they were going to choose to call themselves, but I mean, I guess I should have, considering this is called the Castor Chronicles.
Right.
But, I had sort of figured out that basically she was a magical type person, and then she goes and shatters a window.
Yes. And not that she exactly meant to, it kind of just sort of happened.
Yeah.
But a lot of the kids, they were in class, and a lot of the kids were giving her a hard time and saying kind of mean things, and, the next thing you know, the window explodes. And even though there's no real way that she could possibly have done it, I mean, without some kind of magical means, I mean, she didn't have a sledgehammer and just, throw it at the glass or anything. She was just standing there. She didn't
Yeah.
even touch it. And everybody still, like, jumped on board and said, well, she must have, like, jumped up and put her fist through it, and it made that made the entire window just shatter and cover the classroom in glass. Yeah, one person hitting one spot on the window is going to do that. But somehow everybody just sort of went with that, story, because they were all ready to vilify her.
Yeah. And the fact that she's Macon's niece.
Yeah, they were just ready to feed her to the wolves.
But then you find out, after she and Ethan get knowing each other, you find out she's a caster. But you also find out about the claiming.
Mm-hmm.
And why she doesn't really want to get close to Ethan is because she's convinced that on her 16th birthday, when she's claimed, that she's going to go dark.
Right. There's this, and I don't even know exactly what to call it, because it's not really a ritual necessarily. I mean, they kind of ritualized it as they sat there and kind of waited for it to happen. But when you turn 16, something happens to the magic or whatever inside your body, and you immediately change, and you either become a light caster or a dark caster. And several people in her family had gone dark, and she had seen what they had done and what had become of them. And she was positive that she was going to become a dark caster, which was part of why she wanted Ethan to stay away from her, because she didn't want anything bad to happen to him. But at the same time, I don't know how she was trying to avoid it, because what about all of those dreams that they were both having?
Well, she tried to, tell him he was crazy at first.
Yeah, except, I mean, wasn't she having the dreams too, or is it just him?
No, I think she was having them too.
Yeah.
And then they find that locket and start having these visions of something that happened in the past, and you find out why she says her family's cursed.
Right.
And, he's having the visions too. And not only that, she can talk to him in his head.
Right. They have some kind of like a telepathy thing going on.
Yeah. But he's human. He's not supposed to be able to do that.
But somehow he can.
Yeah, that's what they keep saying. They make a big deal about him, being able to communicate with her that way, and them being so close and everything. And
well, there were a couple of other things that he could do that they were kind of scratching their heads over, because they kept saying that, he, being a mortal, he shouldn't be able to do any of that.
Yeah.
There were a couple of things that kept happening like that. Macon was getting a little concerned.
And I love the fact that Macon named the dog Boo Radley.
That is funny.
But, these visions that they can... Oh, and then we have to talk about Emma.
I love Emma.
Ethan's, voodoo housekeeper.
Basically, yes.
And then, you find out that she actually knows more about what's going on than she lets on to Ethan. Because, there's that whole scene where they're out in the swamp, and Macon's there, who she keeps calling Melchizedek. Something. Which is his middle name. And let me just say, I was kind of blown away when I found out what Macon actually was.
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't a caster. He said he wasn't a caster. But I wasn't expecting that.
But did he come out for sure and say that he wasn't a caster, or did he just say that he was different?
I'm pretty sure he actually said he wasn't a caster. Or Lena said he wasn't a caster. Somebody said he wasn't a caster.
Okay.
So, I knew he wasn't a caster. I just wasn't expecting him to be that. It was kind of shocking. I was like, really? Wow.
Well, that's okay. I wasn't expecting Emma to be who she was either.
Well, no.
I mean, because she was the one who was looking out for Ethan and telling him to stay away from them and to basically not get caught up in anything having to do with this magic or power or whatever they were doing. But at the same time, she was the one that was hiding like little herbal sprigs and like little dolls and stuff around the house to like protect the family.
Yeah, hex bags.
Yeah. So, yeah. I
Yeah.
found her very interesting. But the other thing about the dreams that they kept having, the other thing that was really cool is because, Ethan was trying to figure out, he kept seeing this girl and he kept trying to figure out who she was. And then when he saw Lena, he was like, "Oh, it was her." And of course that freaks him out because, well, it would. And then when they find the locket and they start having all those visions and it kind of ties everything together, they realize that their ancestors were also together and had
Yeah.
also fallen in love.
Yeah. Because the other Ethan.
Yeah, there's two Ethans, and this one was his great 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 however many greats uncle, I think.
Yeah. Who's not on any of the family trees
Mm-mm.
that he had ever seen until, he found this locket and started hanging out with Lena. And, I also love that his mother's best friend, the town librarian, was also the librarian for the Castor Library.
Yes, that was cool.
I was like, yeah, she knows what's going on.
See, I want to know more about Ethan's mother.
I have a feeling that there probably will be more about her in the other books. See, there's like 3 more of them.
Yeah. See, because Ethan's mother has died a while before this book starts. So we never actually get to meet her. He talks about her a bit, but not that much because it's still painful because it's fairly recent. But you kind of got the hint. They said that she died in a car accident, but you kind of got the impression, or at least I did, that it may not have just been a car accident, that it might have been something more
Yeah.
ominous
Sinister.
than that. Yeah, sinister. But, she had some information about the whole Castor world, and Ethan had no idea.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he knew that his parents were different because they weren't just accepting the, cookie cutter life. Even though their ancestors were from Gatlin, they didn't want to stay in that life. Both of them had left and then come back, and they were professors and did research and broadened their minds whenever they possibly could, which is something that the people of Gatlin just don't do. And so but still, even though they were kind of considered a little out there, they were still a part of the community. They were still accepted. Unlike,
Well, his dad probably knows because, he's awake and he's going to know, that things in his family, some of this stuff happened. And the fact that, they have a voodoo housekeeper. Come on now.
yeah, I feel so bad for his dad.
I do too, because he just completely shut himself away when Ethan's mom died. And then for what's-her-face, the Lena's cousin,
Oh, Ridley.
Ridley, yeah, basically kidnaps Ethan's dad because she's kind of a heinous little.
Well, she turned dark.
Yeah, she was claimed dark. And then, the coded message Ethan finds that his mother left, and the door that kept unlocking for him, and there was a lot of weird stuff going on with Ethan.
Well, see, that's why I want to know more about his mom, because obviously his mom isn't as gone as you would think somebody would be when they die.
Yeah.
There's a part of her, whether she's a ghost or whether she's something else, but part of her's still there. And obviously she knew more about this whole situation than she ever let on, because obviously Ethan knew nothing about it until, Lena showed up.
Yeah. And what kills me is, she leaves this message, and it's something that everybody else in Lena's family knew about, and nobody told her. Because, Macon admits that he knew that because she was a natural, that it would be her choice.
Right.
But nobody bothered to tell her that. They let her, spend 16 years thinking that basically being convinced that when she's claimed, she's going to go dark.
Right, because didn't she know that her mother had gone dark?
No, she thought her mother and father were both killed, I believe.
Okay. Because I knew that there
book.
were some family members that she knew had gone dark, like Ridley, but I couldn't remember if she knew about her mother or not.
I don't think she did. I think she found out about that later on after her and Ethan got access to the Castor Library.
Okay.
I think it was after that she found out who her mother was. Which her mother was a natural, and when a natural is claimed and goes dark, they're called something else.
I thought it was a catalyst.
Yeah, I think that was it. But if they are good, then they're a natural. And basically that means they're like the most powerful casters.
And that's why Lena had been very sheltered growing up. She had been homeschooled for a good part of the time. And Macon was very hesitant to let her go to school in Gatlin at all.
Yeah.
But she was trying, and this was really heartbreaking. She just wanted to have something of a normal teenage life.
Yeah.
And if that meant that she was going to try and go to the school dance, even though she knew she wasn't going to be welcome there, she was going to do it. And she was willing to put up with everything that was going on at the school and how horrible the people were treating her, because she was trying to at least have that for a little while.
Yeah.
Even though she knew it wouldn't last. And that was so sad.
It really was, because to us, we basically grew up with that typical normal life as teenagers, going to high school, being tormented,
Yeah.
But she had never really dealt with that before, and to throw herself into it like that, just because she was so desperate to have some sense of normal before her 16th birthday. She's 15 years old. She's never really been to public school. She's never really dealt with things like that. And she knows how Gatlin is. Macon knows how Gatlin is. But she's like, I'm going to do it anyway. They may all hate me, but I'm going to do it anyway. She's got chutzpah.
She's a very strong person. I don't know if I could have done it.
I would have wanted to. I would have been like, you know what? I'm just going to hide over here under my bed.
Yeah, I'll come out once I'm claimed.
Yeah.
And if I go dark, I'm so going to kick their butts.
But yeah, I really, really liked the book. I liked the tone it was written in. I liked, the characters that I was supposed to like. I liked Link.
We haven't talked about Link yet. I really liked Link a lot. And he's Ethan's best friend. His real name is Wesley Lincoln, but everybody calls him Link, except his mother, who refuses to. And, oh gosh, his mother. Oh.
Well, you find out at the end of the book why, at least partially why, she'd been acting like such a heinous word I probably shouldn't say.
Yeah, but I think part of that was really her too.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of that, which we're not going to give away here because that's a pretty major reveal. She's not off the hook for that, because I just have a feeling that she didn't need to be convinced too hard to do what she did.
Probably not.
No.
She was one of those people who were, Gatlin needs to stay the same. We have our, Civil War reenactments. I mean, they take their Civil War reenactments seriously.
Oh, gosh, yes.
That was some serious business to them folks.
Yeah. But no, Link is awesome. I don't know how he became so awesome given being raised by that woman, but like I said, he's Ethan's best friend, and he drives a, ratty, nasty car that they call the Beater, and he's in a band that's really, really bad.
Yeah.
But even though, Ethan's hanging around Lena all the time now and kind of being given not so subtle messages that he's threatening his position in the school because of hanging around her, and Ethan really doesn't care at this point. But
yeah, it's just like, I don't care, I don't like these people.
Yeah, but as much as he could, Link stood by him and, became friends with Lena and liked Lena.
Yeah.
he thought that she was a really, really cool girl and tried to do whatever he could to help them, but, not much could be done, really.
No. That's the small town mentality. You don't belong, get out.
Mm-hmm.
And, the rest of the basketball team, especially when Ethan, he was having like this amazing season.
Uh-huh.
Like after Lena came along, he was like awesome. And he up and quit the basketball team.
Yep.
And that just pisses everybody off.
Well, that's too bad. They were acting like jerks.
They really were.
They deserved it.
But it was really, really good. And I want to see the movie because I have been told that the movie sort of portrays Wicca in a bad light, and I'm like, I really don't understand that because there's no mention of Wicca in this anywhere.
No.
And the magic system that the casters use really isn't anything like Wicca.
No.
And this is speaking as someone who is Wiccan. What they do is nothing like what we do.
No.
The only thing in there that bears a resemblance to anything with a real world analog is voodoo. And they say it's voodoo, and it's obviously voodoo.
Right. Well, some people, they see one magical or mystical spiritual practice and they just kind of blend them all together, even though they're completely different.
Yeah, this is true. So, I mean, and even so, even if you do take the casters as witches, not all of them are bad.
True.
Yeah, there's bad ones, but hey, there's good ones too. Kind of like, the real world. But I love, too, another thing that I liked was the song that kept cropping up everywhere, that was unexplainably on Ethan's iPod, but then wasn't anymore.
Yes. That was very creepy.
And he kept hearing the song, and he kept playing everywhere he went. And then when Ridley, wraps Link around her little finger and takes advantage of Link, because she's like that. She's evil.
I don't think Link was fighting it that hard.
Well, no, because apparently Ridley was kind of hot.
And apparently Link was very much a boy.
A teenage boy, yeah.
I said, he didn't need much persuading.
When they're that age, they don't need a hot girl. They get turned on looking at linoleum. Just to steal a line from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I don't really think he was fighting all that hard.
No.
But apparently she makes his band really, really good, and they're playing Lena's birthday party. They just, Ridley decides, with help, I'm sure the big bad had something to do with these party plans, but they play the 16 Moons song. And every time Ethan hears it, he's like, that's the song, And I love it, the fact that at the end of the book, the song changes.
Yes.
And goes from being 16 moons to being 17 moons. So I'm thinking that maybe the next book is going to be the next year.
Probably. I'm guessing it's going to be something like that.
Either that, or it's going to be what happens in the intervening time between now and next year.
Well, yeah, because they have, I think, 4 books in the series. So, they've put off basically the big ending. They can only do that so many times.
Yeah, I really don't think they can do it again. I mean...
Yeah.
Because basically Lena ended up not being claimed.
Right.
So, apparently she's only got until she's 17 to work that one out.
Well, and the thing, too, is that you have this whole big build-up towards, her 16th birthday, and this is going to happen, and it could be a complete catastrophe, and it's scary and terrifying, and then it doesn't happen. And I've read books that have done that before, and usually it irritates me because it's like, well, what was all of that build-up for? We were doing, building up for nothing. Where's the big payoff at the end? But I was actually really pleased with this one. It didn't irritate me the way that usually does. Because usually it does. There's a couple books that I could think of that you were expecting this big huge thing and it was talking about this big huge thing and like the tension keeps ramping up and then all of a sudden it's like nothing. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
You're making all that fuss over nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way it ended. I like the fact that, it's enough suspense that you're going to want to run out and find the next book and see what's going to happen next. Because, now the big bad has been revealed. You have your main antagonist, and apparently she's completely bonkers. So, yeah, you got to see what she's going to do next and how Lena's going to deal with this and how Ethan and Lena are going to deal with each other.
Right.
Because, like they keep saying, that's one of the big things they keep telling Lena why she should go dark is because they figured out a way for her and Ethan to be together.
Yeah, that was troublesome because that was one thing that Macon kept saying as he was trying to protect Lena, is he was saying casters and mortals can't be together, that it does not work. There's no way to do it.
Yeah. I'm thinking there's more to Ethan than being just a mortal, though. I don't know what he is yet, but I suspect he's not entirely human.
Yeah, I was starting to get that impression too.
And it probably has something to do with his mom.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I don't think he's a caster.
No. But then, Macon's not a caster either.
Right.
So, if we're going to throw what Macon really is into this mix, we could throw anything into it.
That's true. That is true. So, yeah, there are 4 books in the series. The second one is Beautiful Darkness. The third one is Beautiful Chaos. And the fourth one is Beautiful Redemption. And I don't know if there's going to be a 5th one. I don't know if that's the end or not. The 4th one was published in 2012. And there's nothing that says that there's a 5th one in the works.
I think it's just the 4. I'm pretty sure.
There is a graphic novel of beautiful creatures, though. That would be interesting.
I like graphic novels if they're done well.
Yeah. Now, do we want to talk at all about the movie, about what we think so far? Because there is a trailer out.
Yeah, but I haven't actually watched the entire thing. I do know that I'm not thrilled with who they've got cast as Ethan. He just doesn't look at all the way I pictured Ethan. But I'm pretty sure Jeremy Irons' Macon was a stroke of genius.
I saw that and I was happy. I didn't really know anything about it. Oh, there's 2 trailers out. Okay, I might have to watch the other one. Yeah, when I first saw the trailer and I saw Jeremy Irons, I was like, oh my gosh, because I think that he's just kind of awesome. He's one of those people I could listen to talk for hours.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting hearing him try to do a Southern accent.
You think it's going to be interesting to hear him do a Southern accent? I want to hear Emma Thompson do a Southern accent. Because she's also in this.
Yeah.
She's playing Mrs. Lincoln.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
That's going to be an unusual thing.
Look,
there.
It can be done, and be done well. I hate admitting this, but I've been watching Nashville, and 2 of the characters on there, 2 of the main characters who sound Southern just like I do. One of them is from Australia, and one of them is from England.
Well, there you go.
And the girl from Australia does one of the best Southern accents for somebody who wasn't born and raised down here that I've ever heard. I don't know how she does it. I mean, I was blown away when I found out she was from Australia. I was just like, holy cow. So it can be done.
Yeah.
But my problem is usually in movies when they cast people who aren't born and raised in the South is they tend to overdo the accent.
Yeah.
And that kind of bugs me because, yes, there are people here who do sound like that, but most of us don't. Most of us sound more like I do. I can't hear my own accent until I listen to the podcast. And then it's just like, oh my God, I sound like a hillbilly.
Oh, well, you don't.
But, I am aware mine is not as bad as some people's. And mine does tend to get worse when I get excited about something.
And since you get excited about books, this is not going to be easy for you.
Yeah. It's when I get really excited and start talking louder and talking faster that I can't control it, and I really sound completely like a redneck. But that's the problem, and I think that's what bugged me about Reese Witherspoon when she was in Sweet Home Alabama. I'm like, girl, you are from the South. You can do a better Southern accent than that. So I mean, I'm anxious to see how they're going to handle the accents. Because, I mean, it's South Carolina. It's not quite as Southern as I am, but it's also...
It's pretty Southern.
Yeah, it's a Civil War town, and they still have, like, their plantations, and they're still trying to hang on. So they're going to have that sweet Southern belle.
Yeah.
All the girls. Yeah, and it's probably going to annoy the crap out of me.
Well, it depends on how far they take it.
Yeah, well, as long as they don't overplay it too much, maybe it'll be okay. Because, they can't. They've been known to do things like that. This is Hollywood we're talking about.
True. That is true.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to watch it just to see.
Oh, I definitely want to see it.
Because I suspect there are a lot of things that will be changed. And there's going to be... Because, I mean, this is a pretty long book. There's going to be quite a bit of it that gets left out.
Yes, probably.
It's just going to depend on how well they cut those subplots.
Right. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that will.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. I don't know when I'll see it, but I know for a fact that once we do see it, we will talk about it on the podcast.
This is true.
Yeah.
Although, we have big plans for April.
We do have big plans for April. Should we talk about those plans?
We should probably let people know about our plans for April.
Okay. Well, Jess had informed me that last year, now this is before we were doing the podcast, but last year in April was the 30th anniversary of the release of the first book in the Belgariad.
Yes, which just seems so odd to me that book is 30 years old. Fixing to be 31.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that it was, released around the same time that I was born. But actually seeing that, I was like, 1982. Oh, it's 20 years old. Wait, no. 1982 is the year before I was born. The book is 30. Oh my God, I cannot believe that book's that old. And this realization came to me as I had started a discussion on the tavern. Well, I posted in the Random Thoughts thread that I really liked the new UK covers of the books. And apparently Marita thinks I'm a crazy person.
Well, there's nothing new about that.
Well, she thinks I'm a crazy person because I like those covers. I think they're pretty. Yeah, they're not perfect. I mean, I don't understand why they have that ring that looks like the thing that Xena the Warrior Princess used to throw at people on the covers. I think it's mostly just a framing element and kind of to tie all the covers together. And I'm not crazy about the font that they chose, but they're colorful and they're updated, and I think they make the books appeal to a new generation of reader.
Well, and that's important because, I mean, since they are 30 years old, they're classics, obviously, especially in the fantasy genre, but there's going to be a lot of people who haven't read them.
Right.
So, anyway, what we're going to do for the month of April, actually, we'll be starting on March 31st. That'll be the first episode where we start our discussion. But we are going to go through the Belgariad. And we'd like to have as many people join us as possible. So if you are interested in reading these books, obviously, Jess and I are really big fans because I don't think there's been an episode yet where it hasn't gotten mentioned at least once.
Yeah,
so
we begin to talk about it.
Yeah. So we're going to get it out of our system during the month of April, at least for right now. And So starting on March 31st, we're going to discuss each book in the Belgariad for each episode. So the first one, we're going to talk a little bit about Eddings and then talk about the first book, which is Pawn of Prophesy, and then go on from there. So this will actually really be not, well, I guess it's not the first series because we did do 2 episodes on the Chicagoland vampires, but
Yeah.
this will be the first, I guess, more long-term series that we've done
In
on the
depth.
podcast. Yes, this will be very much in-depth book analysis and talking about the characters and a whole bunch of stuff. We're gonna kind of not worry as much about spoilers, figuring that since these are 30 years old, I think the statute of limitations is off on them.
Yeah. I'm
So,
gonna
and
go with
besides that, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but a lot of the things are pretty obvious.
They really are. I mean, it's not written to be suspenseful.
No, there's not a lot of ambiguity. You
No.
know from the beginning that certain things are going to happen, and it's
Right.
just kind of following on the journey to get there.
Right. These you kind of know what the destination's going to be, but the journey's still enjoyable. And I've said this before, especially in Enchanter's Endgame, the whole scene at where, Garion actually starts on his voyage to meet Torak, and once he actually gets there and they go into the room and Torak wakes up, that is so well written that it still gives me butterflies, even though I've read it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I know exactly what's going to happen, But yeah, I think since technically these books are sort of indirectly responsible for this podcast, because if it weren't for these books, we never would have met each other.
That's true.
That it would be nice to, pay our respects.
Yes. So we hereby declare April to be Belgariad Month. So get to your library, get to your bookstore, buy up the 5 books of the Belgariad, and we will have a good old time.
Yeah, and you can find them pretty cheap. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I went into my local Goodwill store a few months ago and found an entire set, all 5 books, brand new, and I only spent $2.50.
Well, you can't beat that.
You can't beat that. In most used bookstores will have them because, there's a lot of them about.
That's true.
They're everywhere.
Yes. And
So,
we have also been talking about the possibility of having another giveaway
yes.
during our Belgariad Month. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Mm-hmm. We love these books, and we want everyone else to love them too.
Yes, this is true. So that's going to start on March 31st. The truth of the matter is we're not exactly sure what we're going to be talking about next week. We are still kind of kicking around some topics. If there's any topics that you'd like us to discuss, we would be glad to hear some, because we've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, we're kind of stalling out a little bit on the original topics that we had chosen when we started the podcast. Which, considering that we've gotten up to, what did I say this was, episode 24?
Yes.
I think we've done pretty good. But we would love to have some fresh ideas. So if there are any ideas that you'd like to give us, or anything that you'd like to hear us talk about at length, we can talk for long periods of time about just about anything. I think we have proven that.
Doing an episode about book covers.
Yes. So anything that you would like to hear us talk about, let us know. We would love to accommodate. And there are a whole bunch of ways you can contact us. You can email us always at bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. Our Twitter is at bibanonpodcast. And you can come follow us over there anyway, because we're always giving information about the podcast if we have anything that's going to change. We follow quite a few authors, so if they're saying anything interesting, we'll retweet that. I'll sometimes retweet posts from my blog, which has a whole bunch of book reviews and other randomness. So there's a lot of things going on over on Twitter, so come follow us there. You can also find us at our official website, which is www.bibliophiles-anonymous.com. And you can also always find us over at the Malorian Tavern, which, since we're getting ready to discuss the Belgariad, and that just happens to be a David Eddings fan site, or at least it started that way. It's kind of grown into more than that now. But you might want to come over to the tavern and hang out and see what we're all about. We always have a good time there.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been on there much lately, but, my life has been a little more hectic lately than usual.
mine's
But,
actually starting to calm down a little bit, and I'm really glad.
well, I really don't know how you had time for things like, eating and sleeping.
I don't sleep. I thought everybody knew that. But anyway, so the address for the tavern, it's www.maltavern.com. And gosh, there's a lot of things up over there. There's stuff about books and stuff about movies and music and
video
games and arts and crafts and
TV shows
and other random discussion and silliness. I mean, we get pretty silly from time to time, so.
And for those of you who, do read the Belgariad along with us and do this, you'll have to check out our Fantasy Cast thread.
Oh, yes. In fact, we should probably try and refresh that one because it's probably gone a little bit low in the thread, so we'll have to bump that back up.
Yeah, because we have some definite opinions over who's going to play who.
Yeah, and a lot of those opinions are going to involve a time machine.
Yes, we're going to need to go forward and back by the time.
Yeah, so if anybody can hook us up with a time machine, we would be grateful. Anybody out there?
Very much so.
We will borrow it, take very good care of it, and give it back. But we will need it for a while.
Because by the time this movie ever gets made, then some of the people we've chosen are going to be dead.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to work on that.
Because there's a couple of these that are pretty much universal. Every fan of this book series that I have ever talked to about a fantasy cast, there's a couple of them that there is no way around the fact that a certain person definitely has to play them. And, that would basically be, Belgariad.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody agrees that Belgariad has to be played by Sean Connery.
I could see it.
Well, you see, I've seen In the Name of the Rose, which is a movie that Sean Connery did, in which he's a monk, which is totally out of character for Belgariad, but he's running around in a robe that's tied around the waist with a piece of rope, and I'm like, yep, you're Belgariad.
Well, we just have to talk him into doing it.
Well, and that's where that time machine's going to come in handy, because he's getting on up there.
Well.
Granted, Belgariad is 7,000 years old, but.
So see, Sean Connery's young. It's fine.
But anyway, I for one am really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time with it. So please join us, because we want everybody to read these books and to love them as much as we do. And we're just going to have a lot of fun with it. We're going to just completely fangirl it out and celebrate the 31 years that we've had these books. So please join us then, and we will figure out what we're going to talk about next week. And
well, at least we have week after next covered, because that's when we're going to talk about Rhapsody.
Yes. So we have, that's the next Tavern Book Club book, so that'll be in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, but if we come up with something between now and then, we will let you know on Twitter or on the website or somewhere. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us this week.
Yep.
So thank you for listening, and until next time, bye.
Bye.